June 12, 2025, began like any other in Ahmedabad, peaceful, with the city slowly waking up to the promise of a new day. But beneath the calm, no one could have imagined the heartbreak that was about to unfold. Air India flight AI-171, a Boeing 777 traveling from London, was just minutes away from landing at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. On board were 242 souls, passengers and crew, each with their own stories, dreams and loved ones waiting for them. Suddenly, disaster struck. The plane crashed in a field near the airport, its wreckage scattered and burning. In a matter of moments, the unimaginable became reality. Only one person survived the devastation. News of the tragedy spread with lightning speed, reaching the airport where families and friends waited with flowers and open arms. Their anticipation turned to anguish as the scale of the disaster became clear, sending shockwaves of grief across the nation. The aircraft, once a symbol of connection and hope, was now reduced to smoldering wreckage, a haunting reminder of how quickly life can change. The loss was catastrophic. 241 lives lost in an instant, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. The pain was felt not just by families, but by an entire country. The passengers and crew represented every walk of life, a cross-section of humanity brought together by fate on that fateful flight. There were families reuniting after years apart, students returning home for summer, business travelers chasing new opportunities, and seasoned professionals dedicated to their work. Each seat held a unique story, now forever changed. The crash became a moment of national grief, uniting people in sorrow and raising urgent questions about aviation safety, responsibility, and the fragility of life. As emergency crews raced against time to reach the crash site, the entire nation held its breath, hoping for answers, and for a miracle that seemed impossible. In the darkness of that morning, as the sun rose over the wreckage, a single spark of hope would emerge, a lone survivor, a testament to resilience in the face of overwhelming loss. Flight AI-171 departed London under grey, brooding skies, its engines roaring to life as it lifted off the runway. For the passengers and crew, it was just another long-haul flight, a familiar journey between continents, with loved ones and new adventures waiting at the other end. The hours passed quietly as the aircraft soared above the clouds, the world below hidden from view. For over 8 hours, everything seemed routine and uneventful, with only the gentle hum of the engines and the occasional chime of the seatbelt sign breaking the calm. Passengers settled in with books, movies, and meals. The crew moved efficiently through the aisles, offering comfort and reassurance. In the cockpit, the pilots, both highly experienced and respected, monitored their instruments, reporting no issues as they guided the plane steadily across continents. As the plane began its descent into Ahmedabad, the atmosphere in the cabin shifted. Conditions outside were ideal. Clear skies, light winds, and a smooth approach promised a safe arrival. Passengers glanced out the windows, catching glimpses of the city lights below. The final minutes should have been ordinary. Seatbelts fastened, tray tables stowed, and the comforting sight of home in the distance. Families prepared for landing, some already reaching for their phones to send messages upon arrival. Suddenly, without warning, communication from the cockpit ceased. The steady stream of updates and routine chatter went silent, replaced by an unsettling static. The aircraft, once stable and predictable, began to behave erratically. It banked sharply, shuddering as if caught in unexpected turbulence, alarming both passengers and crew. In the control tower, air traffic controllers watched in disbelief as the plane veered off its assigned course and lost altitude at an alarming rate. Their screens showed a blip moving unpredictably, triggering immediate concern. Urgent calls to the cockpit went unanswered. The radio remained silent, and the usual reassuring voices of the pilots were gone, leaving only uncertainty and fear. On radar, Flight AI-171's icon plunged toward the ground, its descent far steeper than any normal approach. The situation was now critical, every second bringing the aircraft closer to disaster. What began as a routine journey had transformed into a race against time and fate. Alarms blared in the control room as staff scrambled to respond. In the cabin, fear spread quickly. Passengers clutched armrests and flight attendants braced for impact, their training taking over as they tried to calm those around them. The final approach became a nightmare as the fate of all on board hung in the balance, and the world below watched, helpless for the outcome. The shift from routine to catastrophe was sudden and brutal. Flight data showed an uncommanded roll and abrupt autopilot disconnect. The pilots fought desperately to regain control as alarms blared. In the cabin, panic erupted as the plane lurched and dove. Passengers clung to their seats, helpless as the ground rushed up. Eyewitnesses saw the plane flying dangerously low, banking sharply and trailing smoke. The aircraft was clearly out of control, its path erratic and doomed. The impact was catastrophic. Metal torn apart, a fireball erupting, silence following the explosion. The crash left a deep scar in the earth and in the hearts of all who witnessed it. In seconds, Flight AI-171 was gone. The chaos ended in devastating silence. Only the crackle of flames remained. The crash site was a scene of utter devastation. Fire, twisted metal, and little hope. First responders assumed no one could survive such destruction. Hours later, as the fire subsided, a rescuer spotted movement in the debris. Shielded by a section of the tail, a 4-year-old girl named Mira was found alive, still strapped to her seat. Thrown clear of the main wreckage, she had survived against all odds. Mira was rushed to the hospital, her survival hailed as a miracle. Doctors credited her position and the cushioning earth for saving her life. The world watched in awe as news of the lone survivor spread. Mira became a symbol of hope amid overwhelming loss. Her survival was bittersweet. She had lost her entire family. In a field of tragedy, one fragile life endured. With the site secured, investigators from India, the US, and Boeing began searching for answers. The black boxes, flight data, and cockpit voice recorders were recovered and sent for analysis. Investigators focused on mechanical failure, especially the flight control systems. The sudden roll suggested a malfunction in the fly-by-wire technology. Human error was considered, but cockpit recordings showed the pilots fighting to save the plane. Weather and sabotage were quickly ruled out. All evidence pointed to a catastrophic technical failure. Preliminary findings indicated a critical malfunction in the flight control computer. The search for answers would take months, but the focus was clear: what failed and why. The investigation aimed to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. The world awaited the final report. Local villagers were first to report the crash, and emergency services raced to the scene. Firefighters battled intense heat and toxic smoke, struggling to reach the remote site. Multiple agencies coordinated efforts: fire, police, disaster response, and medical teams. The initial hours were a desperate fight to control the blaze and search for survivors. The discovery of Mira gave rescuers a glimmer of hope amid overwhelming loss. Once the fire was out, the mission shifted to recovery and investigation. Teams worked methodically, sifting through debris for evidence and remains. Every piece recovered was vital for understanding the disaster and bringing closure to families. First responders' dedication shone through the darkest hours. The tragedy left an indelible mark on all who answered the call. Ahmedabad was plunged into profound grief as news of the crash spread rapidly through the city, casting a shadow over every neighborhood and home. The airport, once a place of joyful reunions, became a scene of heartbreak and sorrow, as families gathered, clinging to hope and dreading the worst, waiting for news that would shatter their lives forever. In the midst of despair, volunteers and local businesses rallied to support the grieving, offering food, water, and counseling. Strangers became companions in grief, united by compassion and the need to help. Vigils and memorials brought thousands together, uniting the city in mourning. People from all walks of life stood side by side, transcending social and cultural divides to honor those lost. The tragedy reached far beyond India's borders. Victims came from many countries, and embassies worked tirelessly to support their families. As international news crews captured the world's attention, identifying victims was a painstaking, emotional process, prolonging families' agony and leaving many in limbo as they waited for answers and closure. The crash left a permanent scar on the city, turning the crash site into a place of remembrance and reflection, where mourners returned again and again to pay tribute. Even after the flames were gone, a sense of vulnerability and loss lingered in the air, haunting the city's mornings and its silent nights. The human toll was measured not just in lives lost, but in the shattered peace of a community. Everyday routines were disrupted, and the city's spirit was forever changed. The world mourned with Ahmedabad, as messages of solidarity and support poured in from across the globe, reminding the city it was not alone in its sorrow. The sorrow would echo for years, a quiet reminder of lives lost and a community forever marked by tragedy. The crash of AI-171 became a national tragedy, dominating headlines and sparking debate. The government declared a day of mourning. Leaders visited Ahmedabad to show solidarity. Public confidence in air travel and Air India plummeted. The disaster triggered a nationwide conversation about aviation safety and regulatory oversight. Air India faced financial losses, compensation claims, and a damaged reputation. The airline launched a sweeping review of safety and training procedures. The tragedy forced the entire industry to re-examine its commitment to safety. International aviation bodies watched closely, knowing the findings could affect fleets worldwide. The loss of AI-171 was felt far beyond India, a global reminder of aviation's shared responsibility. The call for safer skies grew louder. Every tragedy is a lesson. AI-171's was no exception. The final report revealed a latent software flaw in the flight control computer, not pilot error. Boeing was ordered to issue a global software patch for all 777's new pilot training programs were developed to prepare crews for complex system failures. India's aviation authorities strengthened oversight and safety audits. The goal, a proactive safety culture to prevent future disasters. The legacy of AI-171 is twofold: profound loss and meaningful change. The memory of those lost lives on in safer skies and improved technology. The scar remains, but so does the commitment to learn and protect. Their loss was not in vain. The future of aviation is safer because of them. If you found this story important, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage and updates on aviation safety. Your support helps us spread awareness and make the skies even safer.